Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Some of you might be knowing that Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi is recording his views regarding some of the objections that have been raised regarding some of his opinions he has given regarding the Quran, the Sunnah, and the contents of religion. In an ongoing dialogue with his literary assistant, Muhammad Hassan Ilyas, he has recorded his observations, he has recorded his answers regarding various important issues. So today we're going to start off by actually summarizing these views that Ustaz has presented in these lectures. They are a long series of lectures that have come to light. But my purpose here is to summarize them and to briefly look at some of the content that they portray. Today we're going to look at the issue of keeping beards. And as we all know, this is an issue which has bothered the Muslim mind as a very, very sensitive issue, something which they often think of, and many Muslims who don't keep beards, they actually feel as if they are sinning. So let us embark upon this journey with an open mind and see the reasoning behind Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi's views. First of all, what he has presented in this dialogue is that as far as the Quran is concerned, there is not a single verse in the Quran which says anything about the beard. Again, there is nothing in the Sunnah also of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in this regard that we can say. It is only in the Hadith literature that we find the issue of beard being mentioned. And it is only here that we see that the Prophet seemingly is actually asking believers to grow beards, as is generally understood. So Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi has categorized these narratives, and before actually we discuss his categorization, the all-important principle of understanding a hadith is that whatever a hadith portrays has to be in line with the Quran. It cannot contradict the Quran in any way, and also as far as the hadith is concerned, the principles of understanding hadith, they entail that any narrative which is weak in its ascription to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ shall not be entertained. So Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi, what he has done is that after examining hadith literature vis-a-vis beards, he has categorized the narratives in two broad categories. In the first category, he says that as far as we look at this category, we'll find that the Prophet is actually commenting on the arrogant appearance of people who grow small beards and have large mustaches. And this gives them the look of a person who is very arrogant, very haughty, and he is full of himself. And obviously, this is something which the Quran has proscribed. Arrogance is something which is a basic tenet of morality, that it is against all upright behavior. So in this first category, Ustaz Ghamidi says that if you look at these narratives, what the Prophet is saying, he's not commenting in any way. He's not in any way asking believers to grow beards. All that it is saying is that there is a certain appearance which people adopt, and that appearance is that they keep large mustaches and have very small beards. And these large mustaches, they give that appearance which is absolutely unbecoming. So while commenting on such people, the Prophet has said that, well, if you have to grow anything, let it be your beards and shorten your mustaches, because this is something which does not portray you as a humble human being. So in this regard, let us look at some of the narratives which belong to the first category. So Abdullah ibn Umar narrates from the Prophet, and he said that, do not follow these idolaters. Clip your mustaches and lengthen your beards. Then we have a report from Abu Huraira. He says, and he reports from the Prophet, that clip your mustaches and lengthen your beards and do not follow these Majus. So now let us come to the second category of narratives. This second category of narratives is something which actually depicts that the people of the book regarded keeping large mustaches and small beards as part of their religious innovation. And they've also indulged in some other practices. And one of the reasons for which, of course, prophets of God are sent is that they eliminate all forms of religious innovations which are called bid'at. So as a bid'at, the people of the book regarded keeping large moustaches and small beards to be something very commendable. And this category of narratives is something which the Prophet has clearly shown his dislike, that as far as opposing things are concerned, as far as bringing them to light is concerned, all things which portray any form of bid'ah or any form of religious innovation has to be done away with. So this category of narratives is what I'm now going to present before you, and this narrative is actually reported by Abu Umama Bahili. And the text of this narrative, I'm just going to read out that text. The Prophet ﷺ once came to some old men of the tribe of Ansar. These men had extremely white beards. Seeing them, the Prophet remarked, "People of Ansar, dye your beards in red or golden colors and do not follow these people of the book." So this is the first thing, that people had white beards and they did not like to have them colored in any way. It was like something as if it was forbidden. And the Prophet said, well, this should not happen. And he actually advised these people of Ansar that you should dye your beards in red or golden colors and do not follow these people of the book. Because if they think that dyeing is against religion, it is against religion in their own sense, in their own view. But actually, it is absolutely fine. And then these people of Ansar asked another question, and that is, they declared, "O Prophet, these people of the book wear shalwars and do not wear loincloths." And at this, the Prophet said, "Wear both shalwars and loincloths and do not follow these people of the book in this matter." So the second religious innovation or bid'ah that they were following was that they would wear shalwars and would not wear loincloths. They would think or say that this is against religion. And the Prophet remarked that you should do both. You wear shalwars and you wear loincloths. And then they declared a third question. They asked a third question and said, "O Prophet, these people of the book wear socks, but do not wear shoes while praying." At this, the Prophet said, "Wear both shoes and socks and do not follow these people of the book." So again, a religious innovation on their part. They would wear socks, but would not wear shoes while praying. And the Prophet said that both socks and shoes can be worn during praying. And in this matter, you have to oppose the people of the book. And then they asked, these people of Ansar, they asked, "O Prophet, these people of the book lengthen their moustaches and shave their beards." At this, the Prophet said, "Clip your moustaches and lengthen your beards and do not follow these people of the book in this matter too." So the fourth question that they asked was that, well, these people of the book, they have large moustaches and they shave their beards. And if this is the case, then what should we do? The Prophet said, "Clip your moustaches and lengthen your beards." Again, we see that this category is actually mentioning that if some religious innovation is being adopted or perpetrated by people, and it is something which is absolutely allowed in religion, then the Prophet will go against it and say, well, you must oppose such practices. So in this second category, we find the Prophet actually asking believers to lengthen their beards and clip their moustaches, not because it's a directive that he wanted to give, but because he just wanted to tell these people of the Ansar that if the people of the book think that there is something which is religious and which is actually not religious, then they must oppose it. So we can clearly see that if these are the two categories in which these hadith narratives fall, and both these categories in no way can be taken to mean that they are asking us to grow beards and to clip our moustaches. The first category is a prophetic comment on our appearance and tells us that if you have large moustaches and you don't have beards, or you have very, very short hair on your cheeks, then this is very unbecoming. It gives you that rogue expression. And the second category tells us that, well, if keeping large moustaches is a part of religious innovation or bid'ah of the people of the book, then this too should be opposed. So this, in a summary, is what Ustaz Ghamidi has presented. Now, he has also said, in fact, let me also elaborate that his literary assistant, Muhammad Hassan Ilyas, at the end has asked him two very pertinent questions which he received from various people. And he said that, well, that there are two things at least which oppose Ustaz Ghamidi's view that he has presented, and he presented both of them one by one. So let me also present both these things before you. The first thing that he presented was that, well, remember, when we started off, we said that Ustaz Ghamidi says that this issue has not been mentioned anywhere in the Quran. So here we find that there are people who say that Ghamidi Sahib is wrong here. And there is a verse which actually mentions this issue rather in a very tacit way. And that is a verse of the Quran which I'm now going to read before you, and then we'll see what actually it means. So this verse is now being perhaps displayed as well before you. It says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ مُنِيبِينَ إِلَيْهِ وَاتَّقُوهُ وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِ فَرِحُونَ. So a translation of these verses are, so follow one God, continue to point your face towards His religion, follow the nature created by God, O Prophet, on which He has created people. Their nature created by God cannot be changed. This only is the straight path, but most people know not. Follow it by turning towards God, all of you, and keep fearing Him, and be diligent in the prayer, and be not among the idolaters who created divisions in their religion and became divided into factions. Each faction is engrossed in itself. So the important thing here that we have to understand is the context of this verse. Yes, these words that you can see do give this hint, as people claim, that it says that follow the nature created by God on which He has created people. And this nature created by God cannot be changed. So by these words, people say that growing a beard is a very natural thing. It is something that is, instinctively found. It is a part of our creation. The Almighty has made hair to be grown on our cheeks, and therefore it is like human nature. And so this is a verse which is presented by the proponents of people who say that yes, the beard, although has not been mentioned by name, but indirectly there's an insinuation in this verse that beards should be kept because, well, we keep beards, we are actually following the norms of human nature. If we look at the context of this verse, we'll find before it the concept of Tawheed being discussed. Remember, this is a very fundamental concept. The conflict between monotheism, which is Tawheed, and polytheism, which is Shirk, is a conflict which had taken place at the arrival of Prophet Muhammad. And this is something which is talked about in the Quran every now and then. And if we pick up this Quranic verse and if we read the context of this Quranic verse, we'll clearly find that what the Quran is impressing upon people is that monotheism or Tawheed is what your nature speaks of. It is something which is innately found in your own selves. Polytheism or Shirk is not supported by a human nature in any way. So while referring to polytheism and monotheism, this debate which is in the background, in the context, the Quran is telling us, follow the nature created by God. In other words, telling us, follow the belief of monotheism, of Tawheed, on which your nature has been created. So, as far as this verse is concerned, it is not talking about any physical appearance at all. And if we study the verse in its proper context, it clearly will tell us, for example, in this case, that it has an entirely different meaning. Let us now come to the second question which has been raised against this view. This second question is from a narrative of Prophet Muhammad, which is found in Hadith literature, and to be precise, from this Al-Jami al-Sahih of Imam Muslim. So there is a narrative which says that there are 10 things from among the norms of human nature, and when it mentions those 10 things, it enumerates keeping a beard to be one of those. As a result of which people say that we have a clear directive of the Prophet in Hadith which says that beards must be grown. So let us first examine this narrative. Aisha reports from the Prophet, 10 things are from among human nature. Of course, implying the fact that they are among the norms of human nature. What is the first one? Clipping of mustache. Second, growing of beard. Third, use of the miswak. Fourth, snuffing up the water in the nostrils. Fifth, paring of nails. Sixth, washing of joints. 7, removing of hair under the armpits. 8, shaving of pubes. And 9, washing the private parts with water after relieving oneself. And the narrator has said, I have forgotten the 10th, but it may have been rinsing the mouth. This narrative has been criticized very vehemently by authorities like Imam Ibn Abdul Barr and some other authorities too, who have said that this narrative is not sound in its ascription to the Prophet, and its narrators are not sound in reporting this narrative. So the narrator has not even remembered the 10th thing that was stated here, and therefore it cannot be relied upon. In contrast to this, we have another narrative which actually tells us that there are 5 things which belong to the norms of human nature, and this has been reported by Abdullah ibn Umar, and this has been recorded by Bukhari, and all hadith authorities regard this to be a narrative which is sound. So Abdullah ibn Umar reports from the Prophet, 5 things are from among the norms of human nature: circumcision, shaving the pubes, clipping the mustache, paring fingernails, and removing hair under the armpits. So you see, keeping the beard is not mentioned here. It is only mentioned in a narrative which is weak in its ascription to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and also regarded to be unsound by authorities like Ibn Abdul Barr. So all in all, we can now summarize the whole view by saying that as far as beards are concerned, or keeping the beards is concerned, it is no directive of religion at all. Neither the Quran mentions it, nor does the Sunnah mention it. And as far as the Hadith literature which does mention it, it does not mention it as a directive or a command given to Muslims. It mentions it as a certain command which must be followed in certain perspectives, in certain backgrounds. And we have alluded to those backgrounds earlier on. And we have also discussed the objections which were raised against Ustaz Ghamidi's view, one from the Quran and from the Hadith, and also endeavored to answer them. So this, in a nutshell, is the view of Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi, that as far as keeping the beard is concerned, it is no directive of Islam in any way. The Quran does not mention it, the Sunnah does not mention it, and if the Hadith mentions it, then it has a certain background, and in those backgrounds, it cannot be regarded to be an independent directive. This, of course, is a brief summary of Ustaz Javed Ahmed Ghamidi's view and some of the objections which have been raised against it.